research study completed in the USA titled Sports Celebrity Influence on the Behaviour and Intentions of Generation Y concluded that several of the most current celebrity athletes are not exactly role models for positive behaviour, with brief comparison to an older generation of athletes. This raises the question of how do we judge and compare behaviours in sport when sport is developed with each generation. In today's world, celebrity athletes make huge salaries, with Tiger Woods topping the table by earning £59.6 million per year, whilst also being coveted and scrutinised by today's youth for their behaviour both on and off the sporting playground. So what exactly is a role model, and how do celebrity athletes affect today's youth? A role model will have personality traits and subsequently will be admired for the behaviour they display. There are distinct qualities to define a role model, with every role model admired for different reasons. A classic example is the contrast between Sebastian Vettel and Jenson Button. Both are recent Formula One champions who have completely different personalities. Sebastian portrays a witty and funny driver during media interviews compared to Jenson, who has a more relaxed and laid-back interview response style. Their differences are also displayed on the track, with Sebastian appearing to take more risks with overtaking manoeuvres, with Jenson focusing on more long-term strategies. Yet both drivers have huge fan bases and respect through the Formula One media. Stars such as Kelly Holmes and Michael Owen and Usain Bolt are just a few of the names mentioned in a broad survey completed in late 2010 to grasp an idea as to who 17 to 18-year-olds looked up to in sport. Surprisingly, stars such as Wayne Rooney, Michael Phelps and Tiger Woods were mentioned, despite recent negative media coverage on both sporting and personal affairs. This creates the question of just how moral our judgments are in modern society when it comes to choosing a role model. In the same survey, 90% of the group agreed that the coverage of the controversial personal lives had changed their views and opinions of the celebrity athletes on a personal level, but they still respected and looked up to them as a role model within sport. 80% also agreed that sports that have higher TV coverage provide more choice of role models, but are not necessarily the best choice. A prime example of this is football. Athletes such as John Terry and Ashley Cole over the last few years have had their private lives spread across the tabloids full of stories of alleged affairs and misconduct. During this time period, they also came under scrutiny for a poor performance at the 2010 World Cup, where they performed well below expected level. With 70% of people believing that ball sports, including rugby, football and cricket, are the main sports in the British sporting industry, after disappointing performances, it is no coincidence that other sports began to rise in popularity, with 20% of people believing motorsport is the main sport. Sporting events such as the Commonwealth Games were covered and watched by many more of the British populations, with athletes such as Tom Daley and Rebecca Adlington firmly in the media spotlight, after a disappointing summer of sport which, aside from the World Cup, also saw Andy Murray lose at Wimbledon. A later survey revealed that a wide range of age groups and mixed genders, when media coverage is increased, interest in that specific sport also increases. 2007 was to be the first free year of the Schumacher dominance in Formula One, and also saw a new British driver in the form of Lewis Hamilton. With an impressive resume of winning every championship he entered, Hamilton immediately stepped into a race car capable of winning titles, a rarity for a rookie. By the end of the Australian Grand Prix, media surge began as Hamilton beat his partner Fernando Alonso in the same car and with the same team. As the season continued, the media craze increased, and despite losing the championship by one place, he created a phenomenal amount of interest. By 2009, both Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button had been crowned Drivers' Championships, and the British racetrack of Silverstone recorded its record number of visitors at 310,000. The 2009 season also saw an epic battle between relatively new teams Red Bull Racing and Brawn GP fighting for the championship, both of which had British team principals in the form of Christian Horner and Ross Brawn. Formula One is just one sport that highlights the effect of media and the increases influences of its athletic stars. As a result of this, sponsorship has become even more important in funding the events, and the choice of which sponsorship is taken on shows and reflects the characters and personalities of the athletes, yet again highlighting the athletes out of the sports they participate in. Despite the negative effects the media has on choice of role model, it is also brought around positives, with role models such as David Beckham creating academies for today's youth to participate in sport. David Beckham was voted the best male sports star role model with a total of 55% of the votes in the Daily Mail survey, which was also supported by the Association of Teachers and Lecturers survey, with 60% of children in schools agreeing with the decision.
It would be great to find future stars, but at the end of the day that's not what the Academy is about. It's about achieving something for kids to come down and have fun and have the ability to learn about the sport, about football, learn about healthy eating, learn about different parts of the body, different injuries and things like that. And it's also a lot about learning about life as well, and responsibilities, and it's not just a soccer academy, it's about different things, and that's what we're trying to learn.
Celebrity athletes also use sponsorship to promote healthy, balanced and active lifestyles through the Make My Milk campaign as an example, using Jenson Button. Over the time, coverage has increased of athletes comes greater responsibility, and it is primarily down to the athletes as to how they use it. The personality and behaviour they portray may influence a decision, but that isn't the decision maker. To today's youth, the main thing is the connection they feel with the athlete. When they score that winning goal in the World Cup final, when they kick that drop goal to win the Rugby World Cup.
Ken Wilkinson in the place. Johnny Wilkinson, he's got it! It's over!
And when the car crosses the finish line and the driver discovers they are the best in the world.
Oh, thank you, boys. Unbelievable. Thank you, I love you.
The main remaining question is, how far are we willing as the public to pursue our fascination and curiosity with the athletes before we divulge that little bit too far and invade the privacy of the majority of athletes who want to be treated as equals despite what they do? An equilibrium is required for the use of role models to be effective. Fans need to have a realistic opinion of the athletes they admire, whilst athletes need to remember that they are watched, admired and held in high regard for the sports they do.